They said it would never come out. They said the cameras would never catch it. But tonight, the mask is all the way off, because what Blueface was just caught doing inside his own house, to a woman healing from surgery, and to a little boy who cannot defend himself, has the entire internet demanding answers. And the wildest part? His own mother, Karlissa, jumped in and somehow made everything 10 times worse. Stay locked in, because what Blueface admitted with his own mouth, on his own livestream, might be the one thing he cannot come back from. Okay, gang, let's get straight into it, because the chat has been on fire for days. You see Nevaeh and Blueface on the screen, so you already know the forecast is calling for a storm. Blue has been coming at Nevaeh non-stop, and look, I can't sit here and pretend every single thing Blue said was wrong, but the way Blue is moving, that's a whole different conversation. And Karlissa? Karlissa has been up here stirring the pot, like she's getting paid per stir. We're going to walk through all of it, piece by piece, and then I'm going to tell you exactly how I see it. And trust me, by the end of this, you're going to understand why so many people are saying this is the darkest chapter of the Blue saga yet. Now, some of y'all have been saying for months that this living arrangement was going to end in disaster. Y'all clocked it early, and I hate to say it, but y'all might have been more right than you even knew. Let's start with Karlissa, because Karlissa apparently decided that what this situation needed was more gasoline. Karlissa went live, and this is what Karlissa had to say about the mother of her alleged grandchild, a woman who just had a baby, mind you. Karlissa basically said, "How many days are we supposed to watch this girl walk around with her hair not done and her face not beat, going back and forth with her baby daddy?" That's Karlissa's concern. Not the newborn, not the recovery, the hair, the face, the optics. Now, we're not going to sit through all of that, because I can only take Karlissa in small doses. But here's my question for Karlissa, and I need somebody to make it make sense. Karlissa, if you don't rock with this girl, if you've been out here questioning whether that baby is even your grandchild, because let's not forget, denying children is practically a family tradition at this point, then why are you watching her every move? Why is Karlissa tuned in to every live, every post, every little thing Nevaeh does? If you don't believe that's your grandbaby, why is Karlissa so invested? That's not concern. That's surveillance. And that's messy behavior from a grown woman who should be the elder in the room. And let's be very clear about who Karlissa is in this story, because context is everything. This is not the first time Karlissa has inserted herself into her son's relationships. Karlissa has a documented history of going live and unloading on every woman Blue has ever been linked to. Karlissa did it to Chrisian. Karlissa did it to Jaden. And now Karlissa is doing it to Nevaeh. At some point, we have to stop calling it protection and start calling it what it is, a pattern. A mother who cannot let her grown son's household breathe without her commentary is not guarding the family. She is feeding the machine. And the tragic irony? Every time Karlissa goes live, Blue's behavior gets worse, not better, because Blue watches his mother model exactly the kind of public disrespect he then turns around and pours on the women in his house. The blueprint is right there, gang. It has been right there the whole time. But, and this is where it gets complicated, gang, even a broken clock is right twice a day. Because buried inside Karlissa's mess, Karlissa actually stumbled onto 1 or 2 valid points. And we're going to get to those, because they matter. But the delivery? The delivery was pure poison, and it was designed to humiliate, not to help. Now let's talk about the money, because the money is where this whole story turns. She went to Blue and told him she needed a little help. Simple words. A new mother, fresh off a C-section, asking for help. And Blue's response? Blue said, "Help with what? You get $12,000 a month from me alone." Blue said, "That's not even counting whatever else you've got coming in on the side." Blue said, "You're probably touching $18,000 a month. So what exactly do you need help with?" And listen, let's be fair for a second. Blue has shown receipts before. Blue has put his earnings out there for the world to see. And 18,000 a month is real money. That's more than most people will ever see. But hold on. Context matters. She just brought a whole human being into this world. A C-section is major abdominal surgery. We're talking 6 weeks minimum before the body even starts to recover. And that's if everything goes right. And Blue, a man who flaunts what he makes, a man whose monthly income dwarfs that 18,000, is standing there counting what's coming out of his pocket like she's a line item on a budget spreadsheet. If Blue is pulling in what Blue claims to be pulling in, then why is the mother of his newborn child being nickel and dimed? Some people would argue that money should be split down the middle. At minimum, it should reflect the reality that this woman is recovering from surgery while caring for his infant son. And let's zoom out on the money conversation for a second, because this is bigger than one couple's argument. When a man controls the house, the cameras, the income, and the narrative, that monthly number stops being support and starts being leverage. Think about it. Blue knows that if Nevaeh leaves, the money conversations get real quiet. Blue knows that as long as she's under that roof, every dollar comes with strings attached, and every string is attached to a camera. That's not generosity. That's control wearing a generosity costume. Financial experts call this exact dynamic economic abuse, when resources are used not to empower a partner, but to keep them dependent and compliant. I'm not putting a legal label on anybody. I'm just telling y'all what the textbooks say, and y'all can line it up with what you're watching and draw your own conclusions. That's all we ever do over here. We lay the pieces on the table, and the chat does the math. But here's where I have to keep it all the way real with y'all, because this channel has never been about picking a side and closing our eyes. I do think she could be doing more around that house. I said it. There are moments where Nevaeh seems to be moving in slow motion, and when you're a mother of two, the clock doesn't stop because you're tired. That part is fair. That part, even Karlissa got right. But, and this is a big but, she needs to wake up and see what's actually happening around her. Because Blue does not respect her. Blue does not respect her children. And the disrespect is escalating. And it's escalating for one reason and one reason only. Blue wants her out of that house. And once you understand that, every single thing Blue does starts to look different. Every argument, every camera in her face, every humiliation broadcast to the world. It's not random. It's a strategy. And now we have to talk about the part that has people truly disturbed. The part that took this from typical Blue chaos into something much darker. Y'all saw the clip. Everybody saw the clip. Blue, sitting there telling little Superior, a child, a little boy, I cheated on your mama. I cheated on your mama. Over and over. And that baby was crying. That baby was screaming, hollering, swinging his little hands at Blue. And Blue kept going. Blue kept poking at him. And I'm sorry, but watching it, it looked like Blue was enjoying it. It looked like Blue got something out of watching that child fall apart. What kind of person does that? What kind of heart do you have to sit there and torment a little boy who's already watching you talk to his mother like she's nothing in front of him? Yes, children cry. Yes, little boys have tantrums. But there are 100 ways to calm a child down, and repeatedly telling him you cheated on his mother while he screams is not one of them. That's not discipline. That's cruelty dressed up as a joke. And here's the part that really needs to be said out loud. When Superior swings at Blue, when Superior acts out, when that child screams and hits, that is not a bad kid. That is a kid whose nervous system is on fire. That little boy has to sit in that house and watch Blue degrade his mother, and he is powerless to stop it. Children don't have the words for that kind of stress. It comes out in behavior. It comes out in hitting, in screaming, in not listening. And when Nevaeh yells at Superior for swinging on Blue, keep your hands to yourself. On one level, sure, hands to yourself is a fine rule. But you need to be asking why. Why is your son acting different? Why has his whole demeanor changed since y'all moved into that house? Children don't deteriorate for no reason. That is a signal, and signals from children should never be ignored. And while we're on Superior, let me say this part slowly, because it matters more than anything else in this entire video. That little boy did not choose any of this. He didn't choose the cameras. He didn't choose the chaos. He didn't choose to have his mother's private business discussed by strangers on the internet. Every clip of Superior crying, every clip of Superior swinging at a grown man, every clip of that child being trolled on a live stream is going to live on the internet forever. Forever. When Superior is 14 years old, his classmates are going to be able to pull up footage of him at his most vulnerable moments. That is a weight no child should have to carry into their teenage years. So when we talk about who the real victim of this saga is, it's not Nevaeh, and it's certainly not Blue. It's a little boy whose childhood is being monetized in real time, one stream at a time. And every adult in that house who lets a camera roll while that child melts down is complicit. Every single one. And she just lets it happen. People keep saying, well, Blue is the stepdad, let the man handle it. Let's clear something up right now. Blue is not that boy's stepdad. There's no marriage. There's no commitment. There's barely even respect. She said she'd let the stepdad handle it. Nevaeh, what stepdad? You are the only wall between your sons and a man who has shown you, on camera, over and over, exactly what he thinks of you. And what he thinks of you is not much. And let's be honest about something else, because somebody has to say it. The sleeping arrangements in that house have raised eyebrows all over the internet. That is a mini-mansion. There are rooms on top of rooms. There is no earthly reason for Superior to be sleeping in the bed with Nevaeh and Blue. And when a man has the kind of allegations and rumors floating around him that Blue has, and to be clear, I am not accusing Blue of anything. I don't know that man personally, and nothing has been proven. But when a grown man has openly bragged about the things Blue has bragged about, why would any mother be comfortable with that arrangement? You have to move with wisdom around your children. Always. No exceptions. Now, Superior's father had a whole lot to say when that clip went viral. And look, as a father, he has every right to be furious. Every right. But sir, and I say this with love, words are not a custody arrangement. If you're watching your son get tormented on a live stream, and clearly he's watching because he responded, then it's time to stop talking and start moving. File the paperwork. Make the call. Tell her you're coming to get your child. Because being mad online is free, but protecting your son is going to cost something. The internet has seen 1,000 outraged fathers go live and then go quiet. Don't be 1,001. Go get your son. And listen, this next part comes with a heavy heart, because nobody gets joy out of watching another woman struggle. But some of what you're going through right now is a harvest from seeds you planted yourself. Remember when she was the new girl, and she had commentary for everybody? She had opinions about Karlissa. She had opinions about Jaden. She looked at those women's situations and said, that could never be me. I would never tolerate that. I move different. And then she turned around and got pregnant by the exact same man, and is now living the exact same storyline, chapter for chapter, verse for verse. That's not me being cruel. That's karma doing what karma does. She thought it was sweet. She saw the money, the fame, the clout, the lifestyle, and she wanted in. Well, she's in now. All the way in. And by every account, she is miserable. And since we're keeping receipts, let's rewind the tape for anybody who's new to this universe. Karlissa went through the ringer with this man, the fights, the arrests, the public humiliations, all of it playing out in front of millions. Jaden, the first baby mama, the one who was there before the fame, got dragged through triangle after triangle, and is still, to this day, catching strays in a situation she never fully left. And through all of that, she was on the outside looking in, watching the same show the rest of us were watching, except she didn't just watch, Nevaeh critiqued. She graded those women. She stood on the sidelines with a scorecard. And that's exactly why the internet has so little sympathy right now. It's not that people are cruel. Okay, some people are cruel. But mostly, it's that people remember. The timeline never forgets. When you spend months positioning yourself as the upgrade, as the different one, as the one who would never, the fall hits different. The same audience that watched her judge is now watching her live the exact plot she mocked. And that, right there, is why you never dance on another woman's disaster. Because life has a way of handing you the same script and asking if you can do better. And before anybody tries to twist my words, no, I am not saying Blue treats Nevaeh the worst. Blue treated Karlissa terribly. Blue treated Jaden terribly. There's a whole pattern here, and she had front row seats to every episode before she ever signed up. That's what makes this so frustrating to watch. She had the advantage none of the others had, the benefit of hindsight. She watched the whole playbook, and she ran onto the field anyway. Now, there is one area where I will ride for Nevaeh, and I need y'all to hear me on this. People have been mocking this young woman because there was a time in her life when she was staying in a shelter. And that is where I draw the line. We are not doing that over here. Anybody can fall on hard times. Anybody. The same people laughing could be one emergency away from the same situation. There is no shame in surviving a rough season. The shame belongs to the people who think poverty is a punchline. So that's the one thing we're not playing about. But listen, because this is the part where the message flips from defense to tough love. Blue told you to go to school. Blue told you to clean up. Blue told you to get yourself together. And some of those things, stripped of the disrespect, were actually opportunities. When Blue said go to school, Nevaeh, you should have sprinted. A free education, paid for by a man with motion? You could have studied business. You could have learned management. This man literally has a restaurant, that fish shack, and you could have positioned yourself to help run it and build something of your own in the process. You could have taken courses on content, on streaming, on marketing. Y'all are literally in the content business, cameras in your face every day, and there are people paying thousands to learn what you could be absorbing for free. Instead, every suggestion Blue made got met with a blank stare, like the words were in another language. And I say this not to tear Nevaeh down, but because the window doesn't stay open forever. At some point, the opportunity stops knocking. And that brings us to the clip that sent this whole situation into the stratosphere. The grocery comment. Now, we're going to keep it classy on this channel, so we'll just say this. Blue sat there, on camera, in front of thousands of viewers, and told the mother of his newborn child to shut up and reference something so degrading, so humiliating, that the internet collectively gasped. And the worst part? It confirmed what people have been whispering about Blue for years. Because there's been speculation about Blue for a long time now, rumors, allegations, questions about who Blue really is when the cameras are off. And when a man is that hypersexual, that freaked out, that over the top all the time, people start to wonder what it's covering up. I'm not here to diagnose or out anybody. A person's truth is their truth, And in 2026, there's no reason for anybody to hide. But the energy is off, gang. The energy has been off. And can we talk about the fact that this man sat down to eat, looked at the woman who just delivered his child, and decided that was the moment for degradation? There is something deeply revealing about when people choose to be cruel. It wasn't in the heat of an argument. It wasn't a moment of anger where somebody said something they regretted. It was casual. It was comfortable. It was a man so at ease disrespecting this woman that it slid out of him like small talk. That's the detail that should chill everybody watching. Explosive anger is scary, but casual cruelty? Casual cruelty tells you that disrespect has been normalized in that house for a long time. It tells you this wasn't the first time, and if nothing changes, it won't be the last. And Nevaeh, sitting there absorbing it, laughing it off, moving past it. That's how normalization works. Every time a line gets crossed without consequence, the line moves. And the line in that house has moved so far that the internet can barely see where it started anymore. And she sat there and took it. Sometimes she goes off on Blueface, sure. But most of the time, okay. That's the response. And listen, I'm not here to judge what any grown woman consents to behind closed doors. But I will say this. If a man spoke to me that way in private, he would never get the chance to speak to me that way again, let alone on camera in front of the world. And as long as you stay in that house, it will get worse, not better. Because men like Blueface don't escalate and then calm down. They escalate and then escalate again. Now, fairness demands we address the school situation, because this is the one where Blueface actually had a point, and pretending otherwise would make us just as biased as the people we're critiquing. There was an incident where Superior wasn't taken to school, and Blueface lit into Nevaeh about it. And the substance of what Blueface said? Correct. That child needs to be in school, consistently, on time. Education is the one thing that can break the cycle that little boy is currently trapped in. But the delivery, once again, was pure disrespect. And even if it had been Jaden standing there, and y'all know I am not Jaden's biggest fan, never have been, I would have said the same thing. Blueface, do not talk to that woman like that. There is a way to address a problem without degrading a person. Blueface either doesn't know how, or doesn't care to. Then there was the car incident, and this is the one that should terrify every parent watching. She was reportedly about to leave Superior in the car with 2 security guards. 2 grown men. Strangers, essentially. And Blueface. And I can't believe these words are about to come out of my mouth. Blueface was the one who said absolutely not. Blueface stayed in the car with that child and told Nevaeh, "You were really about to leave your son in here with 2 men you don't know?" And on this one, Blueface was completely, 100% right. I don't care if there are cameras. I don't care if the security has badges and uniforms. I am not leaving my child with men I don't know. Period. When Blueface is the responsible adult in the room, Nevaeh, that should tell you how far off the rails things have gone. And notice the pattern, gang. Blueface is right about the school. Blueface is right about the security. Blueface might even be right that she needs to do more around the house. But Blueface being right about the details doesn't make Blueface right about the big picture. Because a man can score points on individual plays and still be losing the game of basic human decency. And Blueface scorecard on decency? It's ugly. Now, let me be balanced once more, because the moment this channel stops being fair is the moment we become just another messy page. Is it possible that some of Nevaeh's inertia is depression? Absolutely. Postpartum depression is real, it is serious, and it looks a whole lot like what people are calling laziness. A woman who just had major surgery, who is in a hostile environment, who is being publicly humiliated by her partner and his mother on a weekly basis. That woman shutting down is not a character flaw. That might be a symptom. And if that's what's happening, then Nevaeh doesn't need Blueface mockery or Karlissa's commentary. She needs professional support, a safe place to heal, and people around her who pour in instead of take out. So before the comment section convicts her of laziness, let's hold space for the possibility that what we're watching is a woman drowning in slow motion while everybody on the boat critiques her swimming form. Both things can be true at once. She needs to step up, and she needs help to do it. That's the mature read on this situation, and it's the one we're going with over here. Let's talk about the eviction threat, because this is where the strategy becomes undeniable. Blueface told Nevaeh, flat out, that once he gets a wife, she has to go. Let that marinate. She just gave birth to this man's child. His son. A baby he named after himself, allegedly without so much as a DNA test first, which is a whole other conversation the internet has been having, especially after Karlissa publicly fanned those flames. And Blueface is already announcing her expiration date. Not working toward a family. Not building toward a future. Just a countdown clock. Every argument, every humiliation, every camera shoved in her face. It's all pushing toward one goal. making that house so unbearable that Nevaeh leaves on her own. So Blueface never has to look like the bad guy who put the mother of his newborn out. And if you're hearing any of this, hear this part the loudest. The money he gives you monthly, whether it's 12, 13, 17, whatever the real number is, that is enough for a modest apartment and a fresh start until child support gets established. You do not have to live inside the storm to survive it. You had every opportunity to take that first check, get a little place, and raise your son somewhere peaceful. And every month you stay, the price of leaving goes up, not in dollars, but in what it costs your children to watch. Because let's not forget who's really paying for all of this. It's not Nevaeh. It's not Blueface. It's Superior. That little boy is absorbing every argument, every insult, every degrading comment aimed at his mother. He's trying to fight a grown man to defend her. He's screaming at cameras. And instead of the adults in the room asking what's wrong with this child, the child is being treated like the problem. Phew. That part right there should keep every parent watching up at night. Now here's a name I need to throw into the mix, because the timeline has been asking for it. Jason Lee. Jason Lee sat down with Karlissa and got one of the most talked about interviews of the year. Jason Lee needs to call Nevaeh next. And while he's at it, call Jaden too, because the streets still have questions about that tape and the details that never got answered. The people want Nevaeh in that chair. The people want the hard questions asked. I don't know if Jason Lee has that relationship with Nevaeh, but if he's watching the same clips we're watching, he knows that interview would break the internet. And speaking of fathers, let's talk about Nevaeh's own father, because this is a layer people skip over. Her dad is reportedly on house arrest, calling in, getting worked up about what Blueface is doing to his daughter. And sir, I understand the rage. I do. But you can't chastise her now and expect it to take root. That work had to be done years ago. When fathers are present, active, and engaged in their daughters' lives, those daughters grow up knowing their worth, and they don't mistake a check and a camera for love. This is the part where I talk directly to the fathers watching. Be active in your children's lives now, so you're not sitting on house arrest one day watching a man like Blueface run circles around your child, powerless to do anything but be angry. And let's keep that same energy for the whole village, because this is not just about fathers. Grandmothers, aunties, uncles, big cousins, where is everybody? A young woman is in a house, on camera, being dismantled weekly, with a newborn and a traumatized 6-year-old, and the family strategy appears to be phone calls and commentary. Nevaeh's mother, from what the internet can piece together, has her own complicated history in this saga, but somebody in that bloodline needs to pull up. Not online, in person, with a plan, a place for her to land, and the backbone to look Blueface in the face and say the live stream is over, pack the babies, we're leaving. Because here's what 20 years of watching these situations has taught me. Men like Blueface only move one way when they see a united family. They adjust. Bullies recalculate when the cost of bullying goes up. Right now, the cost is zero. The house is isolated, the cameras are rolling, the family is spectating, and Blueface is treating the whole situation like his personal reality show, because that's exactly what it is, and nobody with the power to cancel the show has picked up the phone. Because Blue does not care. Understand that. Blueface records everything. Every argument, every breakdown, every tear. It's all content to Blueface. Blueface knows thousands, sometimes millions of people are watching, and instead of that making him careful, it makes him worse. And this is what people need to understand about that whole Hollywood and internet fame machine. Some of these folks have money in their pockets and holes in their souls. Blueface talks to everybody crazy, his girlfriends, his baby mamas, even his own cameraman. And look at who raised him. Look at the example Karlissa sets on a weekly basis. The apple didn't fall from the tree. It rolled right up next to it and set up shop. And the women keep lining up. That's the other hard truth. Young women see the lifestyle, the followers, the bags, the vacations, and they convince themselves they'll be the one to change him. Meanwhile, Blueface isn't looking for a woman to love. I said what I said. Blueface is looking for content, company, and control in whatever order suits him that day. And these women sign up thinking they're going to be the exception, and they end up as the next episode. They don't care about the risks, not the health risks, not the emotional damage, none of it, because the numbers go up and the notifications feel like love. Until they don't. And this is the part where I talk to the young women watching, because I know y'all are in the chat, and I know some of y'all are looking at this lifestyle with stars in your eyes. Let me tell you what the highlight reel doesn't show you. It doesn't show you the negotiation of your dignity, one live stream at a time. It doesn't show you the moment you realize the bag comes with a barcode, and the barcode scans your self-worth. It doesn't show you crying in a mansion, which is still crying. Except now strangers are clipping it for TikTok. There is no designer bag heavy enough to hold your piece once you hand it over. And the scariest part of the Nevaeh story is not that it happened to her. It's how ordinary the entry point was. A pretty girl, a famous man, a fast life, a camera. That's it. That's the whole recipe. And there are 1,000 Nevaehs in 1,000 cities right now, one DM away from the same storyline. If this video does nothing else, let it be the flashing yellow light on that road. And one more thread the timeline keeps pulling on, because we would be doing y'all a disservice if we skipped it. The DNA discourse. When Karlissa publicly questioned the baby's paternity, and then the child was given his father's name, allegedly before any test was ever shown, the internet split clean in half. One side says naming the baby after him was a beautiful gesture of faith. The other side says faith has nothing to do with paperwork, and paperwork is the only language that courtrooms and child support offices speak. Here's our position. Whatever the truth is, that baby deserves certainty, not speculation. A simple test ends every rumor, protects the child legally, protects the mother financially, and either vindicates her completely or gives everybody the facts they need to move accordingly. There is no downside to certainty. The only people afraid of clarity are the people benefiting from confusion. And right now, confusion is the most profitable product coming out of that house. Let's also talk about what the next 90 days realistically look like, because patterns don't lie. If history is the guide, and with this man, history is a very reliable guide, we already know the cycle. There will be a honeymoon week where everything looks patched up for the cameras. Then a new face will enter the frame, or an old face will re-enter it. Then the disrespect resumes, a clip goes viral, the mothers pick sides, the fathers go live, and the children absorb all of it. It has happened with every woman in that orbit, in the same order, like seasons. The only variable that has ever changed the outcome is a woman deciding the cycle ends with her. Karlissa had to hit rock bottom to even begin climbing out, and she's still climbing. Jaden is still half inside the frame. The question was never whether he changes. The question is always whether he does. Now let me address the people in the back who've been waiting on me to go in on Nevaeh harder. You're going to be disappointed. Because here's the truth. She's not the villain of this story. She's a young woman, possibly a little naive, possibly a little starstruck. The girl is a self-admitted blonde in spirit, and her mama might be one too, so it may be genetic, who made a catastrophic decision for clout and is now living inside the consequences with a newborn strapped to her chest. She deserves accountability, absolutely. She needs to clean that house, get superior on a schedule, take the education opportunity seriously, and put her children's well-being above any man's camera. But she also deserves grace, because she is healing from surgery, raising 2 children, and fighting a psychological war against a man who does this for sport. And one more thing, straight from the heart. When that camera comes on, you have power you don't seem to know you have. Blueface cannot broadcast what you don't give him. Cover your face. Come downstairs in a blanket. Refuse to perform. Get that camera off me. Only works if you mean it. Every time you let Blueface film your lowest moments, you're handing him the weapon he uses against you. Starve the machine, Nevaeh. Starve it. And before we land this plane, let me put the required honesty on the record, because credibility is the only currency this channel trades in. Everything we've walked through tonight comes from clips, live streams, and public posts that these individuals put out themselves. Nobody had to dig, because the parties involved broadcast all of it voluntarily. That's the part that makes this saga so different from a typical celebrity scandal. There's no leaked footage, no secret source, no hidden camera. The entire case file was uploaded by the defendants themselves, in real time, for views. And when people willingly sell their private pain by the clip, the audience stops being an audience and starts being a customer. Somebody in that house understood that early. And the ones who didn't are the ones paying full price. So where does this all end? Let's be real with each other, gang. It ends one of 2 ways. Either Nevaeh wakes up, takes that money, gets her own place, co-parents from a safe distance, and builds something real for herself and those 2 boys. Or Nevaeh stays. The cameras keep rolling. The disrespect keeps escalating. And one day we're all back here talking about something far worse than a viral clip. And I pray it's the first one. I genuinely do. And for everybody watching at home, the lesson in all of this goes way beyond Blueface and Nevaeh. This is about recognizing patterns before you're living inside them. She watched Blueface's whole history and walked in anyway. Superior's father is watching his son struggle and hasn't filed a single paper. Nevaeh's father is watching from house arrest, full of regrets that can't be dialed back. Everybody in this story is watching. Almost nobody is moving. And that right there, is how cycles repeat. Now I need to hear from the chat, because the comments are about to be a war zone, and I am here for it. So pick a side and sound off below. 1. Is Blueface a calculated manipulator running a strategy to push Nevaeh out? Or is Blueface just a brutally honest man who says what everybody else is too scared to say? 2. Is Nevaeh a victim of circumstance who deserves protection, or did Nevaeh sign up for exactly this, and now the bill is due? And 3. The one I really want answered. Should Superior's father and Nevaeh's family be stepping in physically and legally right now? Or is that overstepping? Phew, the comments are wide open, my people. Choose your fighter. And listen, before you go, if you thought this situation was deep, wait until you hear what's coming out about what really happened the night that restaurant deal fell apart, and why a certain somebody's name keeps coming up in paperwork that was never supposed to see daylight. That's the next one, and it is a movie. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because when that one drops, you're going to want to be first in the chat. Until then, protect your peace, watch the patterns, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.